Hey folks, I'm Melhorn. In this video, I'm going to give you a money-saving tip, a little DIY, do-it-yourself at home boat maintenance tip. Listen guys, working on a boat, especially a motor, is not something that most people want to get into. Myself included. I'm pretty limited on what I do. But thanks to YouTube, this little box here that we're in, there's a lot of good information out there that can help you save a lot of money on doing some of your home boat maintenance. One of the things I learned years ago, here on YouTube actually, and I had a friend come over to help me reinforce what I had learned, was changing the oil and the lower unit lube on my boat motor. And if you're wondering, what the heck is a lower unit? Well, that's the thing that the little propeller comes out of, and it's called a lower unit because it's on the lower end of the motor. Inside that thing are a bunch of gears and a bunch of things that turn and spin. Anytime you have a motor and things turn and spin, they need lubricant because they're made out of metal. If they don't have lubricant, well, they start to grind, rust, and it just turns into a big old mess and it doesn't work. You have to change that lubricant that is in there, that lube, gear lube as it is called. Typically, it's recommended that you do it about every 100 hours. On my boat, that's when I do it. I have an alarm that goes off every 100 hours. It starts beeping. It tells me it's time to change it. Sure, you can go longer. You can do it sooner. Some people do it once a year. I do it whenever the alarm goes off. That's usually about once a year, about every 10 months, 9 months, somewhere in there, I end up doing this. Now you can take your boat to a boat mechanic. Plenty of good dealers out there that can do this for you. But if you're like me, you like to fish. And if you're like me, it's usually going to be time to change this in the middle of the summertime. And that means you're going to tie your boat up for about 2 weeks. And that's just not going to be fun. So I'm going to go over what I do to do this at home, and you can do it too. Trust me, this is not something that is very complicated. You do not have to be mechanically inclined to do this. If you know what a screwdriver looks like, you can do this. Now, in one way, this is just like changing the oil in your car. Now, I know some of you are going, I don't change the oil in my car, I pay somebody to do it. Well, bear with me, folks. I'm going to teach you how to do that too. What you have to do first in either of these processes is you got to get the old oil out. And just like in a car when you change your oil, there's always a little screw, a little plug as it is called, that you unscrew, you take out, and out pours the oil, or in this case, the lube. Now obviously you're going to need to have something to catch it in. They make a lot of pans, a lot of the auto parts places sell them, a pan, a bucket, whatever you can get down there to catch this lubricant. Store this stuff somewhere, take it to a local recycling center, and get rid of it there. Not something you want to dump in your yard or dump over in a ditch somewhere, something that needs to be disposed of properly. Now the screw for your lower unit is typically on the bottom underside of the lower unit case. Because this is draining it out of the bottom of the lower unit, it's going to be on the bottom side of it. Sometimes the screw can kind of be hitting up underneath one of the rounded edges there. So you might have to get down there and look for it. But usually it's a large screwdriver and usually a flathead, and undo that screw, pull it out of the way. It'll start trickling out very slowly. The trick is there's another screw on the upper part that at the upper end of the case, you take that screw out, you'll notice it'll start to come out very quickly. Now, the weight of this stuff is fairly heavy. It's thick. It's going to take a while to drain. So go grab yourself a cold drink, sit back, relax, and give it a while to drain all the way out. Now, one thing you want to look for when you drain this lubricant out in that pan, look to see if it's frothy or white, or if there's just two different colors and looks of fluid in there. Because what can happen is you can start to get water into that lower unit if you have some seals that are bad. So if you have something that starts to look like water in that pan, it's probably time to take that boat in to a mechanic and have somebody that really knows that motor take a look at it. It's going to take about 5 or 10 minutes to get this stuff out of there. And at that point, you got to put it back in. Now, you're asking yourself, Dieter, how am I going to get all of this stuff into that little bitty hole? Well, there's a special little hose attachment that you need to thread into where that plug goes. You can get this at Walmart. Walmart sells these. Any of your marine dealers will sell these type things. And it's basically a little pump attachment that allows you to pump this lubricant back in there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this hose, and instead of doing like you do in your car and putting your oil in at the top of the motor, you're going to put it in through the bottom. What this does is it allows it to fill up the entire chamber evenly and without forming any air pockets. Now, it takes a while to pump this stuff in. These little pumps do not pump this lubricant in fast. So usually what I do is I get my son out there to do the dirty work. Now, this lubricant is not anything super special that's hard to find. I buy mine at Walmart, so you can pick it up. It's there on the shelves over near where the motor oil is, maybe in the marine department, depending on how they structure stuff there. But be careful of one thing. There is a motor oil for two-stroke motors that is in a bottle that looks remarkably similar to the gear lube. Make sure you are getting gear lube and not marine motor oil. They are two separate things, two different weights, and one will work and one won't work that good. Now, on every motor I've had, it has always taken a little bit more than one bottle of the gear lube. One bottle is never enough. It usually takes about that much more out of the next one. So you're always going to need 2 bottles of it to get the job done. Now, it will honestly take you 10 minutes to pump all this stuff in there. You'll know it's full when you start to see it come out of the top hole. As soon as that happens, you need to stop pumping, take your plug, your screw for the top, put it in there, tighten it up. Now, the next part's the tricky part, because you have to unthread the hose and then quickly put that plug into there and get it threaded in. Now, if you're smart, you'll wear gloves to keep some of this stuff off of you and keep your hands clean. And you'll also notice that with that top plug in and in place, it creates a suction and the lubricant does not come pouring out of there, so you're not going to lose a lot of it. And bam, that's it. You are set to go. What I try to do is wipe the motor off to get as much of the lubricant off of the motor as possible, just so you don't contaminate up your local lake or river. Now, depending on who your mechanic is, you can save anywhere from $100 to $200 doing this yourself at home, and your boat's back in the water and you're fishing a lot faster. Well, folks, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing, and here are a couple of more videos that I think you're going to like.